I'm glad you tuned in today because this is part 2 of how to create an email sequence. If you missed the third part, stop this video, pause it, go to the other video that I posted previously to this one, consume it, and then go back to this video to really get the full understanding of an email sequence. But today I want to tell you how to craft the perfect email sequence. So what's important, how do you find the right subject line, what type of content, what type of call to actions should you use, and then also how do you set everything up? So what should be the flow? What does the flow look like? So without further ado, let's dive right in. So how do you craft the perfect welcome email? With your strategy in place, what we talked about in the last video, it's time to dive into the creative process of writing your email. And these emails serve as a heart of your sequence, so they need to hit the mark. And when you think about an email, there are a few things that you need to consider. So number one is the subject line. And I want to say the subject line is probably the most important aspect of an email because your inbox and everyone's inbox is flooded with emails. So your subject line is really the gatekeeper to your email. You need to write a subject line that first of all stands out in the ocean of other emails that piling up in your inbox. So you have to keep it concise, but you have to keep it engaging. You need to spark curiosity and you need to promise value. So it's similar to when you post a short form reel on TikTok or on Instagram, where within the first couple of seconds, you need to hook the viewer. And the same goes for your email sequence. You need to hook the viewer. Every person opens up the emails. Most of the time we open them up on our phone and we see like 50,000 emails and we're just glancing at them. I just glance at my emails. It's like, what's important? And the emails with a strong subject line, well, of course, emails that I'm waiting for, but more so emails with a strong subject line really stand out and separate themselves from the rest. So that's where you need to really take your time to craft an email subject line that really hooks the viewer and encourage them to click on the email to see what's the content in the email. So if you're sending out a coupon code, if your email welcome sequence is all about coupon codes to shop on your website, for instance, you want to make it clear in your subject line that this email contains a coupon code. And if you want to be super clever and witty, you also throw in a little bit of FOMO, so the fear of missing out. So you can say, this is your 20% off coupon, good for the next 24, 48 hours. So you create a little bit of urgency to really open it. Next up is the sender's name. And this is an aspect that often gets overlooked, and you might ask yourself, why is that important? I mean, I'm sending the email, my business is sending the email, and I get that, but there's two big differences. So if you have a small team or you're a solopreneur, I recommend that you send the name where the email is coming from your personal name. So I would send, hey, this email is coming from Nina. But let's say you're a big corporation, you have a lot of people working in your team, you're not a small business, you're not a small business owner, I recommend that you use your business name, so your brand name. So instead of saying, hey, this is Nina, you would say the social wisdom. So the social wisdom sends you the emails. And the reason why, as a small business owner, it's easier to create this personal connection when I use my personal name saying, hey, Nina is sending you an email. But if you're a large corporation that worked on brand recognition, that established themselves as a brand, it is easier to use your brand name rather than John send you an email and people are like, who the fuck is John? When you can just say the social wisdom. So depending on how big your business is, you want to consider either using your personal name or consider using your brand name. And the next is a pre-header text. And the pre-header text sits right under your subject line. So it's about 1 to 2 sentences that tells the email receiver what this email is all about. Some people use a pre-header text, some people don't. If you do not use a pre-header text, then the email will automatically grab the first couple of sentences in your email. I recommend taking the time to really craft a pre-header text because it can help you to further entice the receiver to open the email. And play with different text. Use emojis, do not use emojis. Try to use emotions and really tell the viewers in a curious way what your email is all about. If you need help, whether it's subject lines or it's pre-header text, I would say create a fake email account that you can use for testing and subscribe to a bunch of businesses and see how they send out emails. See what is speaking to you, what type of subject lines are they using? Are they using emojis? Are they using pre-header text? And then this will help you to really understand what works and what doesn't work. So ultimately you can get inspired from looking what other people are sending out. And again, as you know, I do not want you to copy anything because I hate copying other people. I want you to solely use it as inspiration. Another super important part when writing email is just the personal aspect, so the personalization. So use personalized elements such as the subscriber's name and really hone on your segmentation. So personalize content in a way that you obviously address them by the first name of the subscriber, but you also want to write your content based on their interest, based on their pain points. So whenever they open up your email, they know, oh, Nina understands me. Like she knows that I'm struggling building my TikTok account, or she knows that I struggle building a website that converts, but all my emails are speaking to your pain points. They feel like, yep, she's speaking directly to me. And I want you to do the same. And another aspect, of course, is the content of your email. So the content of your welcome email should be warm, inviting, informative. When you create email sequences, you really want to introduce your brand, you want to express gratitude, and you want to lay out what subscribers can expect from you. So right off the gate, you want to deliver value. In your content, when you write the emails, there is a little PS that you can end on the bottom. So let's say I say best Nina, and below that you can use a PS. And adding a PS at the end of your emails is really a great placement for callouts. Whether for the reader to take action or just to highlight something that is super important. And now you might ask yourself, well, but I already have a call to action early in my email body. And I already highlighted an important point in my email body, so why should I re-say it in my PS? Well, the PS is an email strategy that you should use, but use it sparingly. So don't clutter every email with a PS, because then it gets old, no one wants to see that stuff. But sparingly introduce it, and the reason why. So the majority of people, and I'm sorry to tell you, but they're not going to read all your email. They're not going to read your entire email sitting there, unless it's like super crazy written. But most of the time, we just don't have the time. We skim through stuff. And if you would put a heat map over your email, so heat map pretty much where the computer will track where the eye goes and what people are reading. They read the first paragraph and they read the bottom paragraph. So everything that you have in the middle, people like fly over it and skim it. But the first and the last part is where people stick and they actually read it. So if you have a PS strategy, people scroll all the way down, okay, PS, and there's your call, there's either your coupon code, there is an important information. So the PS helps you to really convert someone, because just by nature, we're reading the first part of the email and we're reading the bottom part. And if you have a strong call out or something super important in the PS, you or the information in that PS is more likely to be seen by your subscribers, just based on how we read emails. And since we already talked about call to actions, just like your social media post or your website, every email should also include a call to action. A call to action is really there to tell the viewer what to do next. Either sign up for my webinar, book this free consultation, use your damn coupon code. But you have to really make it clear, user compelling call to action. Now that you know all the important aspects of an email, what each email should have, now let's talk about the design. And the design is also a crucial aspect, because your emails should be visually appealing, they should be eye-catching, they should be easy to read. So don't just clutter them full with pictures, don't use a lot of text. Really place pictures very strategically, and I always recommend use pictures that convey some sort of emotions. Either you upload pictures of yourself or you find some stock images, but don't make them cheesy, make them relatable. Also, your email needs to be mobile responsive. So choose a mobile responsive design that adjusts to the sizes depending whether I open your email on my iPad, on my iPhone, on my computer. Also, pay attention to the typography, colors, and of course, as I mentioned before, images. But the colors, use something that is easy on the eye, that is not overly exhausting my eyes when I look at it. So don't use red font on a green background. That's just killing my eyes, so don't do that. And also typography, don't choose anything that is super hard to read. I know that a lot of people think, oh my God, some sort of digital handwriting is pretty, but if I cannot read your email, I immediately close it and I click on the trash button because I'm just not interested. So use something that is very clear to see. Use something that is just visually appealing. And again, I recommend looking at other people's email. What are they sending out? What colors are they using? Of course, I would stick to my brand colors, but keep it simple. Now we talked about all the importance of the email itself. Next, let's talk about the welcome sequence flow. A well-structured email sequence isn't just sending a single message. As we all know, sequence means it consists out of multiple emails, designed to guide your subscriber from the first interaction with your brand to becoming a loyal and engaged customer. So let's break it down. Your initial welcome email. This initial welcome email really kicks off the sequence, making a first impression, expressing your gratitude. So you want to say thank you for subscribing to my emails, but it's also setting the stage for future interactions. That is your first email, the very first welcome. And then you want to set up follow-up emails. And follow-up emails are emails that, depending on your goal, so depending on the objective you set initially, you would kick them off. And then you want to set up follow-up emails. And depending on the goals, depending on the objective you send, you want to craft those follow-up emails. And at this point, the subscriber might go into a different segmentation list that speaks to their pain points or their hobbies or their previous purchase behavior. But consider sending educational content, special offers, or just a reminder to connect with you on social media. But keep in mind that every email needs to provide some sort of value, so the subscriber sticks around. Another super important aspect in a sequence is, of course, timing. And timing really matters. So a typical email flow could look like this. Someone goes on your website and they subscribe. Instantly, they get the first welcome email. And then you want to wait a few days. So you want to wait a day or 2 days to get the next email. And you want to gradually send them out. Again, you want to introduce yourself, you want to introduce your brand, and you want to build this loyal community. Then you can wait another day and you can write your email sequence over a month. So a month long, you nurture them with content. So whether they receive 2 emails per week, they receive 3 emails per week, or maybe just 1 email per week. You don't want to be too pushy. You don't want to be too in the inbox, but you also want to make sure that they don't forget about you. So you need to show up at least once a week. And you can write that email, the first initial sequence, over a month. If you decide at the end of the month, let's say they ran through your entire automation without opting out, then you can decide once they're at the end of my automation, put them in, let's say, this bucket of segmentation, or add them to this group or this group. And depending on what group you add them to, it will trigger another email automation. So ultimately, until the subscriber unsubscribes, hopefully that never happens, but until they unsubscribe, you will just nurture them with content, news about your brand, promotional offers to really keep them engaged. And that also led us yet again to another episode of the Content Marketing Cheat Sheet podcast. I'm so glad you tuned in today. Do not miss next week. Next week is the final video of my email sequence guide, how to set up an email sequence. And I'm so glad you tuned in today. Also, don't forget that the world is your oyster, but everything is disgusting. So I will see you next week. Until then, goodbye, or how we say in Germany, auf Wiedersehen.